Hello, my name is Jeff Szpirglas. I'm the author of Tales from Beyond the Brain. Tales from the Fringes of Fear. Tales from the Fringes of Fear. A book that may give you nightmares so intense that your brain may melt. Do you think you're ready for a story? Are you sure? Okay. This one is called The Lunchroom. We're not supposed to go in there, said Allie. Yeah, but come on, said Max. Haven't you wanted to see where the teachers eat? Not really. Well, I do, Max proclaimed. He enjoyed proclaiming things. He shoved open the metal door and in they stepped. Look at this place, he said, motioning around with his hands. It's a boring room where the teachers eat, Allie finished. That's exactly what it was. The room was full of the kind of old furniture that most people would leave at the curb. A pair of tattered couches covered in stains, a dozen or so mismatched chairs placed around a pair of long folding tables. On the counter at the back of the room sat a sad-looking microwave. Above it was a row of wooden cupboards. Beside it, a faucet dripped steadily in the sink. Drip, drip, drip. Can we go back now? Allie was regretting having agreed to follow Max around on this weird little adventure. At first, breaking into the staff lunchroom, it seemed like a cool idea. Most things seemed like a cool idea when the alternative was working through questions from the social studies textbook. Mr. DeFries loved textbooks. His class was full of them, and they were about as old and battered as the stuff in this lunchroom. Mr. DeFries will start wondering where we are. No, he won't, and he'll think we're in the washroom, just like we said, Max said. Allie looked at the clock on the wall. It was one of those old circular analog clocks. Why did schools even bother to keep them on the walls anymore, he thought. We've been gone 10 minutes already. That's because we're really constipated, Max said. Allie peered around the room. Remind me again why we're here? Because we're going to find out some dirt on the teachers, Max said, and he started to move around the room. Yeah, most likely we're going to find dirt on the dishes, Allie said. Max was always looking for something ridiculous. He'd probably seen too many movies where the kids got the upper hand on their teachers and revolted. Allie figured that Max got bored easily, and he was entertained by that sort of thing. Yeah, come to think of it, Allie also got bored pretty easily, which is why he decided that cutting out of class and breaking into the lunchroom was a not bad idea. Still, now that he was here, what was he supposed to do? Allie opened the fridge. It was overflowing with plastic containers, a few half-empty bottles of sauce, and a row of milk and juice cartons that, judging by the rancid stench coming from the inside of the fridge, had clearly expired. Allie caught a whiff and coughed, and then quickly shut the fridge. Allie took another look at the clock. Max could stay here all he wanted, but he was heading back. Working on social studies questions was starting to seem much more appealing than hanging around a shabby lunchroom. He moved away from the fridge and started to make his way to the door, and then he noticed the thing on the countertop. At first, Allie thought it was some kind of old cloth for wiping down the tables, one that had been left carelessly by a teacher or a caretaker, but it caught his eye all the same. And Allie approached the counter and stared at the cloth. No, not a cloth, he decided. Allie picked up the material, keeping it at arm's length. It was pinkish and soft to the touch, but it didn't feel like any fabric he'd ever worn. In fact, it felt more like, "What's that you got there?" Max said. "Is it a dish rag?" Allie hadn't been aware now until how that Max was by his side, co-inspecting this strange new find. "Weird," Max said. He took the corner of it and pulled it towards him. "It's not a rag, more like a skin," Allie said, his voice choked to a whisper. A skin, yes, kind of like the one that covered a human body. This one was about the size and shape of a head, a real head, with holes for the eyes and the ears and nostrils and... Allie stopped. A hole for where the mouth is. Instinctively, he let go of the thing. As it dropped to the floor, he let out a yelp and wiped his hands off on his shirt. What had he touched? It wasn't warm like his own skin, but it had the same texture, the same stretchy give. A mask, maybe? It was the only explanation he could think of. But Halloween had come and gone, and why was there one here in the staff lunchroom, of all places? "I don't like it," Allie said. "Yeah, but we came here looking for cool stuff, and guess what we found? Cool stuff!" Max picked up the mask from the floor and put it in front of his face and started making weird animal sounds through it. "Stop that," Allie said. Max lowered the mask. "Oh, come on, Allie. This thing is neat." "Let's go back." Max lowered the mask. "We're having so much fun," he said. He rolled the mask up into a ball. "Think fast!" And he hurled the mask his way. Allie ducked. The mask sailed over his head and hit one of the cupboards at the far end of the room, causing it to creak open. "Cut it out, Max," Allie snapped. Fear had given way to frustration. And then Allie saw Max's expression shift. He was looking past Allie at the open cupboard and saying nothing. "What? What is it?" Allie turned, and then he saw. What should have been in the cupboard was kitchen stuff, stacks of mismatched dishes, cups, random coffee mugs. But instead, there were masks, rows and rows of masks, arranged with purpose and hanging on hooks. There were rows of skins to cover arms and hands, and wigs. Allie spotted the set of red curls he saw every day on Miss Miller's head, and the wispy gray strands he'd mistaken for Mr. DeFreeze's actual thinning hair. Allie tried to decide whether to run now while the going was good or get to the bottom of this mystery. Curiosity won out. Why the masks? For all the teachers? All of them? They're all in on this? "Sure looks like it," Max said. He was breathing heavily now. Allie gulped. "But wait, your dad's a teacher. He works over at Bondar Public School at the other end of town." "That's exactly right, Allie," Max said. He dropped another mask he'd pulled from the cupboard. It fell to the floor with a wet slap. Only now did Allie realize that Max had put himself between Allie and the door, the only door to the lunchroom. Allie recoiled. It was some kind of weird, sick joke. Max loved weird, sick jokes, and he was playing one on Allie right now. In backing away from Max, Allie bumped into the wooden cupboard where the teachers presumably kept all their dishes and cutlery. Allie turned and yanked open the closest drawer. Knife. There was no thinking. Grab a knife. Defense. Escape. That was all that coursed through the reactive part of his mind, a blind survival instinct already kicking in, here in the staff lunchroom of all places, with his best friend. But there was no knife in the drawer, only more of those skins, faces, masks. Allie's stomach rolled and twisted until he was sure it was in the misshapen form that this collection of faux human skin was. "Why do you think I brought you here?" Max said, moving closer. Allie didn't respond. He threw open another drawer with such force that it clattered to the floor. Marbles spilled out and rolled across the linoleum tiles. Marbles? No, not marbles. They were spherical, but they were all uniformly white with circular designs on each one. Eyeballs. Not real, of course, and that was what made his skin crawl. No cutlery, no forks, no spoons. The room wasn't a lunchroom. It was a dressing room. Skin and hair and eyes. Allie tried to move toward the door, but he slipped on the eyeballs and fell to the floor with a thud, landing face first in the mess of horrid orbs. He pushed himself back to his knees, but Max was standing over him, leaning in close. Allie could see that Max was still breathing heavily, but the breaths weren't coming from deep within his chest. The sides of Max's neck were swelling and deflated like he had gills. He pulled at his neck, and the skin covering it began to come away, revealing a slick surface underneath, dark and oily and covered with scales. Allie's gaze moved from the scales to the flaps of skin hanging from Max's face. His skin was loosening around the eyes, around the nostrils, and, yes, around the mouth. He'd been wearing a mask himself this whole time? A long, slender tongue snaked through the opening of the mask, where Max's mouth should be. It was yellow and forked and curled like some kind of proboscis. "Come on, dude," Max said. "This is a lunchroom, and I'm feeling really hungry." In the distance, a long, sustained bell rang. The lunch bell. I hope you enjoyed that story. I hope when you go to bed tonight, you have dreams of a lunchroom with skin and eyes and things that will keep you awake all night. It will make me so very happy, so very